Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet this striped children's hoodie or sweater. So this sweater can be made in a number of different sizes, and for all of the information on how to make the different sizes, please see the description box below. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. So to begin your sweater, you want to start off by doing a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, you want to take your yarn and you want to take your finger, and you want to wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. Then take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook, go in through the space and pull tight, and there you have a slip knot. So once you have your slip knot, you now want to make your foundation chain, and for our foundation chain we are going to chain 56. So you want to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 56. So I have just finished making my foundation chain, and now we are ready to move on to round 1 of our sweater. To begin round 1 of our sweater, you want to chain 2, so chain 1 and 2 on top of our foundation chain. And now round 1 is a simple round of double crochet. We're going to do 1 double crochet into every single stitch along our foundation chain. So 1 double crochet into each chain. And we're going to work our first double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook. Here is the 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And into this chain we're going to work our first double crochet. So to do a double crochet, you want to yarn over and go into the chain, the 4th chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops on your hook. So 1 double crochet, and then we're going to yarn over and go into the next chain and work 1 double crochet into this chain, then yarn over and go into the next one and do 1 double crochet into this one, and just do this all the way along your foundation chain, 1 double crochet into each chain. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round 1. And at the end of this round, you should have 56 stitches across, so 56 double crochets, and that includes the chain 3 that we skipped at the beginning. So when we worked into the 4th chain from the hook, we skipped 3 chains, and those 3 chains count as our first double crochet. So you should have 56 stitches across for round 1, including the chain 3 at the beginning. And we are now ready to begin round 2. So to begin round 2, you want to chain 3 and turn. So 1, 2, 3 and turn. And this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So now in round 2, we are going to do 2 double crochets into 1 stitch, but then 1 double crochet into the next. Then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into the next, all the way along. So you want to do 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way along for round 2. So we have chained 3 and turned, and this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And we're going to go down into this first stitch here and work a 2nd double crochet into that stitch. So we're starting off by doing 2 double crochets both into the first stitch, and our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. So you want to yarn over and go down into this very first stitch and work a 2nd double crochet into that stitch. So there we have 2 double crochets both into the first stitch. So now yarn over and go into the next stitch here, and into this stitch we're going to work just 1 double crochet. So 2, 1, then yarn over and go into the next stitch and work 2 double crochets both into this stitch. So 1 and 2. Then yarn over and go into the next stitch and work 1 double crochet into this stitch. So we have 2, 1, 2, 1, and we're going to repeat that all the way along for round 2. So I'm just coming to the end of round 2, and I have worked 2 double crochets in the second to last stitch, and you want to finish off the round by working 1 final double crochet into this last stitch here. And this stitch is the turning chain, or the chain 3 from the beginning of round 1. But whilst working this last double crochet, I'm going to change colours. So for my sweater, I want stripes. I want a stripy sweater, and I'm going to do 2 rounds in each colour. So I'm going to be using blue and then a cream, and I'm going to be doing 2 rows of blue, then 2 rows of cream, 2 rows of blue and 2 rows of cream. So I have done 2 rows of blue here, and for round 3 I want to use a cream colour. So I'm going to change colours at the very end of round 2 so that I have my new colour ready to start round 3 with. So I'm going to change colours whilst doing this last double crochet. So to change colours, you just want to start a double crochet as usual. So just do a double crochet as you usually would. But then when you get to the very last step of the double crochet, usually we would yarn over and pull through these 2 loops with this colour, but we are not going to do that, and instead we're going to complete the double crochet and the round using our new colour. So you want to drop your yarn once you get to this last stage of the double crochet, and then take your new yarn or your new colour, place this over the end of your crochet hook and pull it through. And there we have changed colours whilst working our last double crochet, and we are ready to begin round 3. So you can fasten off, so cut the yarn that you were using. So I'm going to cut the blue colour, and make sure that you leave a nice end or tail to weave in or work over later. And we're ready to begin round 3. So we are now on to round 3, and to begin round 3 you want to chain 3 and turn, and this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So now for round 3, we're going to do the exact same thing as we did in round 2. We're going to do 2 double crochets into one stitch, but then 1 double crochet into the next stitch, then 2 into the next, 1 into the next, 2 into the next, 1 into the next, all the way along. So the exact same thing as we did for round 2. So we have chained 3 and turned, and this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet for this stitch here. So we need to go back into this stitch and work our second double crochet for this first stitch. So yarn over and go into the stitch, this first one here, and I'm actually going to pick up my ends and work over them to save me weaving them in later. So I'm going to work over my ends as I go, and that saves a lot of time. So I have 2 double crochets both into this first stitch here. So now I'm going to do just 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So yarn over and go into the next stitch, and again you can see my end is here and I'm just working over it, and I'm going to do 1 double crochet into this stitch. Then I'm going to do 2 both into the next, so 1 and then a second one both into this stitch, then 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And when you work over your ends like this, you want to make sure that you work over them for a decent amount of time, so say up to here or so, and then you can cut them off and you know that they are nice and secure within your sweater. So we have done 2, 1, 2, 1, and just continue this all the way along for round 3, the exact same thing as we did for round 2. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round 3, and I have one stitch left to work in, and this is the turning chain from the beginning of round 2. So you want to go into this stitch and work one last double crochet. So you want to finish off by working one double crochet into the last stitch, as we started by working 2 double crochets both into the first stitch. So at the end of this round, you should have 126 stitches across, so 126, and I would recommend that you go back and check that you have the right number. So at the end of round 1, you should have 56 stitches across. At the end of round 2, you should have 84, and then at the end of round 3, you should have 126. So if you have those stitches, we are ready to begin round 4, and I'm not changing colours at the end of this round. I'm going to change colours at the end of the next one, as I'm doing stripes of 2 rows. So we are now on to round 4 of our sweater, and for the next 4 rounds, so for rounds 4, 5, 6 and 7, so for 4 rounds we're going to do the exact same thing. So for each of those 4 rounds you simply want to do 1 double crochet into each stitch across. So for round 4 we're going to do 1 double crochet into every single stitch across. Then for round 5 we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch across. We're then going to do the same thing for round 6 and then the same thing for round 7. So 4 rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch. So to begin each round you want to chain 3 and turn, and our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So the chain 3 is the double crochet for this stitch here. So we're going to begin working into this one. So our chain 3 is the double crochet for this one. So you want to work your next double crochet into this one along. So yarn over and go into the next stitch and work 1 double crochet. Then yarn over and go into the next stitch and work 1 double crochet. And just do this all the way along. 1 double crochet into every single stitch. So just 1 into each stitch for round 4, and this should be 126 stitches in total, and that includes the chain 3 at the beginning of the round. The chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So just work double crochets all the way across for round 4. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 4, and I have one last stitch to work into, and I'm going to work one final double crochet into this stitch. But whilst working that double crochet, I'm going to change colours again. So I'm going to yarn over and go into the top of the stitch and start to work my double crochet. But when I get to the very last stage, I'm not going to complete my double crochet using this colour. I'm going to drop the colour that I was using and then take my new yarn. So I'm going to take the blue, place this over the end of my crochet hook and pull it through. And then I can fasten off the cream that I was using. So I'm going to cut the cream yarn, leaving a tail to weave in or work over later. And I have a new colour ready to begin round 5 in. So you want to do that for 3 more rounds after round 4. So for rounds 5, 6 and 7. So I'm going to work round 5 and then round 6 in the blue, and then change colours at the end of round 6 and work round 7 back in the cream. So you can change colours as many times as you like, but that is the way that I'm going to do it. And to change colours, you want to use the method that we have just used and that we used before. So change colours at the end of the round whilst working the double crochet. So work 3 more rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch, or 4 in total if you include round 4, which we have just done. So I have just finished working those rows, and I have come to the end of round 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that was 4 rows of 1 double crochet into each stitch, and I changed colours in between those rows. And now we are ready to move on to round 8. So we are now on to round 8 of our sweater, and in round 8 we are going to turn our big loop, which we have here, into a sweater shape. So we are going to add in the armholes and the front and the back. So to do that, we're going to work along a certain number of stitches for the first half of the front of our sweater. We're then going to skip a certain number of stitches for the armhole, work along a certain number of stitches for the back, skip another number of stitches for the next armhole, and then work along for the other half of the front. And that is how we're going to add the shape in round 8. And before you begin this round, I would recommend that you go back and check that you have 126 stitches across, as if you don't have that number, your stitches will not be right in round 8. So check that at the end of round 7 you still have 126 stitches across. So to begin round 8, you want to chain 3 and turn, and this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So for the first half of the front of our sweater, you want to work 19 double crochets, or 20 in total with the chain 3. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 19 stitches, and then that will be 20 double crochets in total, including the chain 3 for the first half of the front of our sweater. So yarn over and go into this next stitch here, as the chain 3 counts as the double crochet for this stitch. So go into the next one and work 1 double crochet, and then work 1 double crochet into the next stitch and the next one, and do this until you have 20 stitches along, including your chain 3. So 20 double crochets. So like that, so 20 double crochets, including the chain 3 for the first half of the front of our sweater. So now we are going to move on to the first armhole, and for this armhole we are just going to skip 23 stitches. So you want to skip 23. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 23. So here is my 23rd stitch that I'm going to skip. So you want to skip this one and then go to the double crochet directly after it. So this would be the 24th one along, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into this stitch. So skip the 23rd one and go to the 24th, which is here, and work 1 double crochet. So yarn over and go into this stitch and work 1 double crochet, and this is the first double crochet of the back of our sweater. And I would recommend now going back and checking that you did skip 23 stitches. And if you have done that, now we can continue on with the back of our sweater, and the back of our sweater is 40 stitches long. So you want to work 40 double crochets. So we have worked 1, so we're going to work a second one, then a third and a fourth, and do this until you have 40 stitches for the back. So I have worked all the way along those 40 stitches for the back, and now we're going to move on to our next armhole. So for this armhole, we are going to do the exact same thing as the last one. We're just going to skip 23 stitches. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 23. So here is my 23rd stitch along, and I'm going to skip this one and then into the next stitch, so the one after the 23rd one, so this would be the 24th. I'm going to yarn over and go into this stitch and work 1 double crochet, like that, and that double crochet is the first double crochet of the other half of the front of our sweater. So now you just want to continue working double crochets all the way along for the other half of the front, and this should be 20 in total. So work another 20 double crochets for the other half of the front. So I have worked all the way along, and I have one last stitch to work for round 8, and whilst working this stitch I'm going to change colours, as I have now done 2 rounds in the cream. I did round 7 and 8 in cream, so I'm going to switch to the blue for round 9. So I'm going to yarn over and go into the top of this last stitch and work my final double crochet, and then I'm going to drop my yarn right before the last step, take my new colour, place it over the end of my crochet hook and pull it through. And you can then fasten off the colour that you were using, and you can now see that we have created the shape of our sweater. We have a front, an armhole, a back, the other armhole and another front. And now we're ready to begin round 9. So we are now on to round 9, and to begin this round you want to chain 3 and turn. So round 9 is very simple. We're simply going to work 1 double crochet into every single stitch across. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch, and when we get to our armholes, you do not want to go up into the armholes, you want to work straight across. So you'll do double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet straight across. Do not go up into the armholes. We are going to add the sleeves at the end of our project, so at the end of our sweater. So just do 1 double crochet into each stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to work over my ends and go into this stitch here, as the chain 3 counts as the first double crochet for this one. So go into the next one along and work your first double crochet, and then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and continue to do this along for round 9. And you will notice that your rounds from now on go much quicker, as we have cut out 23 stitches for each of the armholes. So your round should only be 80 stitches long now instead of 126. So they should be much quicker to work. So just do double crochets across for round 9. So I have just finished working that all the way across for round 9, and I worked 1 final double crochet into the top of the turning chain at the end of the round. And now for the rest of the length of our sweater, you simply want to repeat round 9 again and again and again. So we're just going to continue with rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch across until you feel that your sweater is long enough. So to begin each round, you want to chain 3 and turn, and the chain 3 counts as your first double crochet, and then do 1 double crochet into each stitch across, and that should be 80 in total, including your chain 3, and then repeat that again. Chain 3 and turn, do 1 double crochet into each stitch across, and just continue to repeat that round until you feel your sweater is long enough. And I'm not going to change colours at the end of round 9, but I'm going to change at the end of round 10, then I will change at the end of round 12, and so on, so every second round. So just continue to repeat that round again and again and again until you feel that your sweater is long enough. So I have finished working the length of my sweater, so you can see I have worked all the way down to the bottom, and I have it at the length that I want it to. And now we are going to move on and add the sleeves. So as you can see, I have already done 1 sleeve on one side, and we're going to do both of them in the exact same way. So I'm going to show you how to make the sleeves. So I have done one, and now I'm going to do the other one. So to start your sleeves, you want to start off by taking your yarn, and the yarn that you want to use is the same colour as the last row of the sleeves here. So if you look at your sleeves, I have a cream colour on the edge here. So I'm going to start off my first round or first row of my sleeves using this colour, as our stripes are 2 rows tall. So you want to take your work and take your armhole or the start of your sleeves here and sort of turn it over to the back, so we have the opening at the front, and you want to twist it around at the back, and that way we will have the join at the back of our sleeves and the back of our sweater rather than the front. So turn it over to the back and take your armhole here, and we are going to attach our yarn into this stitch. So here is the last stitch that we worked into for the back of our sweater. So we have worked into this stitch. So this stitch is the first stitch of our armhole or our sleeves, and we're not going to go into this one, you want to go into the next one. So this is the stitch that you want to attach your yarn to. So I'll show you again. Here we have the last stitch of the back of our sweater into this stitch here. So don't go into that one. And then we have the next stitch, which is the first stitch that we skipped for the armhole or the sleeves, and we're not going to go into this one. You want to go into the next one along. So we've worked into this one, not into this one, so go into the next one. So this is the one that you want to go into, and you want to insert your hook into the stitch, then take your new yarn, and it should be in the same colour. Place it over the end of your crochet hook and pull it through. And there we have joined this yarn to our armholes, and you want to chain one to secure it. And this chain one does not count as a stitch. So now for round one of our sleeves, you want to start off by doing 21 double crochets. So we're going to do 21 double crochets, one into each stitch. So yarn over and go into the stitch here that we attached our yarn into. So go into the same stitch and work one double crochet, then work one double crochet into the next stitch, and I'm working over my end here. Then go into the next stitch and work one double crochet into this one. So one double crochet into the next stitch, and just do this until you have 21 double crochets for the first part of round one. 21 double crochets. So I have just finished working those 21 double crochets around, and you should find that you have one stitch left here that hasn't been worked into already. So you have one stitch here that has not been worked into, and then we have the next stitch, and this stitch here has been worked into, and the stitch that has been worked into it is the first stitch of the front of our sweater from this round. So you should have one empty stitch left. So now we are going to work a stitch called 3 double crochets together. And when we work 3 double crochets together, we are working 3 double crochets, but we are not going to complete any of them, and then we're going to complete all 3 of them together at the same time. So we're effectively turning 3 stitches into 1. And by doing this, we're going to stop there from being a hole at the bottom of our sleeves. So with a lot of crochet patterns, I always find that there is a hole at the bottom of the sleeves if it is a one piece. So if you don't sew all the sections together, so the front, the sleeves and the back and so on, then you will have a hole at the bottom of the armholes, which I do not want. So we are going to start off by doing 3 double crochets together to prevent this. So you want to yarn over and go into the next stitch here. So this empty stitch, this next one, go into this stitch and start to work a double crochet. But then right before you do the last step, so here we have 2 loops on our hook, and to finish the double crochet we would usually yarn over and pull through these 2 loops. You do not want to complete the double crochet, you want to stop right before you do this step. So do not complete the double crochet. And now we're going to do another double crochet, but not complete it into this next stitch here. So this stitch has already been worked into. So this stitch that has been worked into it is the first stitch of the front of our sweater. But we're going to go into this stitch and work another incomplete double crochet. So yarn over and go into the next stitch. Pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So there we have a second incomplete double crochet, and we need to do one more for 3 double crochets together. So our third double crochet is going to be worked into the side of this stitch. So if you look at our work here, we worked one incomplete double crochet into this stitch, the second into this one, and we're going to work the third one into the side of this stitch. So yarn over and go into the side of the stitch. So I'm going into the side and pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So there you should have 4 loops on your hook, and we have 3 incomplete double crochets, and you want to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops to complete the stitch. So there we have done 3 double crochets together. So now to finish off round 1 of the sleeves of our sweater, we are going to work 4 double crochets together. So we did 21 double crochets, 3 double crochets together, and now we're going to do 4 double crochets together. So when we do 4 double crochets together, we are doing the exact same thing as we did just a second ago when we did 3 double crochets together, but we're going to do 4 incomplete double crochets instead of 3. So we're doing the exact same thing. So you want to yarn over and go down into this stitch here, so right at the bottom, and I'm going to go down into this stitch, pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So there we have 1 incomplete double crochet. So do not complete the double crochet and move on to the second one. And we're going to yarn over and we're going to go into the side of this stitch. So here we have the side of the stitch here, and we're going to go into the side of this stitch. So go anywhere in the side, and these can be a little bit tricky to get into, but just go into the side and work 1 incomplete double crochet. So do not complete this double crochet either. Then we're going to yarn over and go into this next stitch here, this next one which has already been worked into. So go back down into this stitch and work another incomplete double crochet. So there we have 3 incomplete double crochets, and we're going to work 1 final one into this stitch here. So this is the last stitch of the round, and yarn over, go into this stitch and work another incomplete double crochet. So now you should have 5 loops on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and yarn over and pull through all 5 loops on your hook. And there we have done 4 double crochets together. So there we have done round 1 of the sleeves of our sweater, and it may seem a little bit complicated, but it really is worth it to do it that way, as if you look at my other sleeve, which I have already done, we have a really nice join at the bottom with no holes, and also our sleeves are the perfect size. So as we skipped 23 stitches for the armhole, our sleeves are still able to be 23 stitches wide, but we do not have a hole at the bottom. So for round 1, attach your yarn into this stitch here, chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, do 21 stitches around, 21 double crochets, then work 3 double crochets together and then 4 double crochets together. And then to finish off the round, we're going to do a slip stitch into the first double crochet that we worked at the beginning. So here we have the first double crochet here, and you want to insert your crochet hook into this stitch, and we're going to do a slip stitch. But whilst working this slip stitch, we are also going to change colours. We have 2 rounds in the cream, so I'm going to change back to the blue, or change back to whatever colour you were using before. So I have inserted my crochet hook into the stitch to start my slip stitch, and usually we would yarn over and pull through both loops using this colour to complete the slip stitch, but we are not going to do that. We're going to drop the yarn that we are using and take our new colour, so take your new colour, place it over the end of your crochet hook and pull it through. And you can now fasten off, so cut the cream or cut the colour that you were using, and we're ready to begin round 2 of the sleeves using our new colour. So we are now on to round 2 of the sleeves of our sweater, And for the rest of the sleeves, the rounds are very simple. We're just going to work rounds of double crochet until our sleeves are long enough. So you want to start each round with a chain 1 and turn, and then work 1 double crochet into every single stitch around, and that should be 23 double crochets in total. And then finish off the round with a slip stitch, and keep repeating those rounds until your sleeves are long enough. So the first round is a little bit complicated, but the rest are very simple. So we're going to start off each round with a chain 1 and turn. So chain 1 and just turn, yarn over and go down into the stitch and work 1 double crochet, and then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And I am working over my ends here, and I would recommend always working over your ends, as otherwise you would have a lot of ends to weave in at the end. So work over them, say to around about here, and then cut them off once they are nice and secure. So keep doing 1 double crochet into each stitch around for round 2. So I'm just doing 1 double crochet into every single stitch. So like that, so I have done 1 double crochet into every single stitch around, and I would highly recommend that you go back and check that you have 23 double crochets around. You should have 23 stitches in each round of your sleeve, and then to finish off the round you want to do a slip stitch into the first double crochet that you worked. So here is the first double crochet, and go into this stitch and work a slip stitch, and make sure that you're not going into the chain 1, that you're going into the double crochet. So there we have round 2 completed, and you just want to repeat that round again and again and again until your sleeves are long enough. So for each round, chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 double crochet into every single stitch around, making sure that that is 23 stitches in total, and then finish off the round with a slip stitch. And in the same way as the rest of my sweater, I'm going to change colours every second row. So after I have 2 rounds in the same colour, I'm going to change colours, and just as we did between round 1 and round 2, I'm going to change colours whilst doing the slip stitch at the end of the round. So start the slip stitch in one colour and then finish it off in the other, and that is how I'm going to change colours. So keep repeating rounds of double crochet until your sleeves are long enough. So once you have made both of the sleeves of your sweater, we are now going to move on to make the hood. So the hood is completely optional, but if you want to add one, I will show you how to do that now. So to start your hood, you want to start off by turning your work inside out, so that your first row that you worked, so the first row of the sweater that we worked, is the wrong side. So here, this is a stitch that is on the right side, and this is a stitch that is on the wrong side, and you can see the stitches are much smaller, and you want to make sure that your first round or your first row of the sweater is on the wrong side like that, and we're going to work along this round. So at the end of this round, you should have the chain 3, so the chain 1, 2 and 3, and this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So you want to insert your hook into the top of the chain 3, so into the third chain. So insert your hook into this chain, and then you want to take your yarn and you want to make sure that you are going with the right colour, so it should be the other colour to what this round is. So I have the cream here, and place this over the end of your crochet hook and pull this through. So we are attaching this to the chain 3 and then chain 1, and this does not count as a stitch. So now for round 1, we're just going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch along. So into each stitch along the top of round 1 here. So this is along the top of the foundation chain. And this should be 56 stitches in total. So the same number that we originally chained. So yarn over and go down into this first stitch here. So into the top of the chain 3. And work 1 double crochet. Then work 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into the next one, and continue to work this all the way along for round 1 of the hood. 1 double crochet into every single chain, and make sure that you are working it along the wrong side of round 1. So round 1 should be on the wrong side. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round 1 of the hood. So I did 1 double crochet into every single stitch along, and you can see this white row up here. And I have come to the very end and worked 1 last double crochet into the last stitch, and that was 56 stitches in total. So we are now ready to move on to round 2 of our hood. So we are now on to round 2 of the hood, and for the rest of the hood you just want to repeat rounds of double crochet again and again and again until you feel that your hood is long enough. So to begin each round you want to chain 1, so chain 1 and turn to begin each round, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And we're now going to do 1 double crochet into every single stitch along, and there should be 56 double crochets in total. So go down into this first stitch here, as your chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and work your first double crochet, and then go into the next one and work another double crochet, and just continue to do this all the way along for round 2. And then when I get to the end of this round, I'm going to change colours to the blue in the same way as I have done time and time again throughout my sweater. I'm going to change colours whilst doing the last double crochet. But you could do your hood in a solid colour, or you could continue with the stripes like I am doing. So I'm going to change colours after I have done 2 rounds in one colour, and I'm going to change colours whilst doing the last double crochet of the round, as I have shown you a few times before. So change colours at the end of the round, and just continue to do rounds of double crochet. So chain 1 and turn, and do 1 double crochet into each stitch along until you feel that your hood is long enough. And then once we have a big strip, we're going to fold it in half and sew it up the back. So I'm going to continue with these rows probably until my hood is about 24 centimeters long, but you can make it as big or as small as you like, and obviously the bigger size that you are doing, the longer you will want your hood to be. So just continue to work rounds of double crochet. So to begin each round, chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 double crochet into each stitch along, and then change colours at the end of the round whenever you like. So change colours whilst working the last double crochet as we have done before. So I have just finished working my rounds of double crochet for the hood of my sweater, and I ended up working until my hood measured about 22 centimetres. So it's 22 centimetres, and I have come to the very last row and I have fastened off. So I have fastened off, and there we have finished crocheting for the hood. And if, like me, you have done rounds of 2 rows in the same colour throughout your sweater, so you have done 2 row stripes, in the very last round of the hood, just do a single round or a single row in one colour, as when we sew this together it will be a double row. So finish off by doing just 1 round in the same colour at the end. So now we are ready to sew up our hood. So to begin sewing up your hood, you want to fold your hood in half and line up your stitches, and then you want to take a really long piece of yarn and thread your yarn through a yarn needle. So I have a yarn needle here, and then a really long piece of yarn in the same colour as my last round, and we're going to use this yarn to sew up the top. And if you left a long end when you fastened off, you could use this end. So what you want to do is you want to insert your needle through the first stitch of one side and then go through to the exact same stitch on the opposite side of your hood and pull this all the way through. So pull your yarn through, and you then want to come back around to the same side that you went in, so this side, and go through to this stitch and then go through to the same stitch on the opposite side and pull your yarn through again. So like that. Then you want to come back round to the same side again. So we are always inserting our needle through the same side. So this side closest to us, we're always going through this way and back through to the opposite side, then coming back round. So the whip stitch kind of goes like this all the way along. So then we're coming back round to this side, go through to one stitch and the same stitch on the opposite side, making sure that you are lining them up perfectly, and then go through both stitches, then come back round to this side again, go through the next stitch and the same stitch on the opposite side and pull your yarn through, and just continue to do this all the way along. So sew up the top or the back of your hood using the whip stitch. So I have gone all the way along using the whip stitch, and I have come to the very end, and you want to insert your needle down into your hood and then pull your yarn through. So go down into the actual hood like this and then pull your yarn through. So go down and pull it through. And there we have sewn up our hood, so you can weave this end into the inside of your sweater, and there we have finished our sweater. We just need to add a border. For the border of my sweater, I'm going to use my cream yarn, and I'm just going to do a simple single crochet border. So I'm going to go all the way up, all the way around the hood, all the way back down, all the way around the bottom, working one single crochet into every single stitch. And when we go along these sections here and around the hood, we will be going into the side of the rows, so just work single crochets evenly. So say 1 or 2 into the side of every row. And then when we get to these 2 corners down here, so here and here, instead of working 1 single crochet into the corner space, you want to work 4 single crochets into each of those spaces, and that will create a nice neat corner. So what I have done is I have gone down a crochet hook size. So go down 1 crochet hook size. So I have been using a 5mm crochet hook for my sweater. So I have gone down to a 4mm for the border. And I'm going to insert this somewhere along the bottom. So I'm just going to go in here, and then I'm going to take my cream yarn and pull it through like that, and then chain 1. So chain 1, and then just work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So do 1 single crochet into every single stitch until you get to the first corner. So work your single crochets until you get to the very first corner. So I have reached the first corner, and I'm going to go into this corner space and work 4 single crochets all into this space. So there's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then just pull the ends tight. So once I have done that 4th one, pull these ends really tight as you can, and that will close up our corner. So there we have our corner, 4 single crochets all into the same space, and it will give us a right angle, which is what we want for the corner of our sweater. So now just continue all the way up the side of your sweater. So just do 1 single crochet into each stitch along, and as we're going into the side of stitches, just work single crochets evenly up the side. And as you have gone down a crochet hook size, these should be pretty easy to get into. So just work your single crochets all the way along. So I'm just coming to the top of my sweater, so I'm right at the top here. And before I move on to go up the side of the hood, I'm going to make a buttonhole. So you can make your buttonhole as big or as small as you like. You just need to chain the right number. So for me, I am going to use quite a big button, so I'm going to chain 8. So I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just make a single crochet, then a long chain, and then just go down and work another single crochet into the next stitch, like that. And there you have a button loop. And now you can just continue to work your border all the way along. And there you have a button loop or a buttonhole, and you can do as many of these as you like along your sweater. So I have finished working that all the way around for my border. So 1 single crochet into every single stitch around, and then 4 single crochets into each of the corner spaces. And then I worked a single crochet border around each of the sleeves, and then weaved all of my ends into the inside of my sweater and attached a button up the top here, and I have finished. So that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos, and thanks again for watching. Bye!